Post round is presented by the new QI35 drivers from TaylorMade, and as always, it is our privilege to take you inside the Super Tower at the conclusion of this one, where Trevor Immelman is standing by. Trevor, great to see you as always, my friend, and this was a Sunday to behold from McIlroy. I'm taken back to a word that Jim used as you signed off on Saturday: context. The context of a place like this, not just a trophy for McIlroy, but a trophy venue. What does this day mean to Rory?
Yeah, it means a lot. Look, he even spoke about it in his interview with Amanda, to be able to win at a venue like this, how much that means to you, not just now, but towards the end of your career as well, when you start to look back at all of these incredible achievements that he's had. His 27th PGA Tour win now really is an impressive start to the season. He played well in Dubai a couple of weeks ago and now gets this signature win here. I think it's going to be a massive year for Rory McIlroy. Trevor,
I'm also taken back to a word you used a day ago as we sat and spoke: creativity. And I'm taken back to Rory here at number 7, that sawed-off finish, below the hip almost, into that postage stamp par 3. The ability to call upon the shots when needed this week looked so easy for McIlroy. Weird to talk about growth at this point in a career, but how much growth are you seeing right now?
Yeah, for sure. Look, he spoke about last year not being that comfortable with his swing. In the time after the break, when the season ended, he spent 3 weeks just hitting balls into a simulator. He said he didn't like the shape of his backswing during the 2024 season and wanted to go ahead and hit balls into a simulator so that he couldn't be fooled by the ball flight. Just wanted to work on technique. And he moved things around in his backswing to get it to a point to where he thought he would be less stuck coming down and into impact. And those changes have bedded in beautifully. And he sure showed us some special golf this weekend. 65, 66 on the weekend. Just one bogey when conditions were brutally tough yesterday. This was vintage McIlroy, and I've said before, look, when this guy really gets going and he's feeling it, the only other player that I've seen in my lifetime that can get on a run like that is Tiger Woods. I mean, it is wonderful to watch Rory McIlroy in full flight.
Yeah, hard to imagine this was a debut of the season for McIlroy. A year ago, it was that slow simmer to start, only one top 10 before the month of May. To get out of the gates this way, you allude to it, but what does that suggest about the trajectory of this season at large?
Well, like I just said, I think it's going to be huge. And another thing, Moose, is I believe that the venues for the major championships this year absolutely suit him. Augusta National, he's come close there before. Obviously, that's been a tough one for him to finish out and get across the line to win a green jacket. But you think about Quail Hollow, you think about Oakmont, you think about Port Rush. You know, these are venues that I really do think suit him. He's had all these wins at Quail Hollow before. 4 times he's been a champion there. And been over a decade since he won a major championship. I think he changes that this year.
Well, I will rob no more minutes of a man at Pebble Beach. Trevor Immelman, appreciation as always, my friend.
Thanks, Moose. Great to be with you.
All right, what a week on tour and on CBS as our award-winning team brings you these sights and sounds in a way that no one else does. What a broadcast on CBS, and what a moment for Rory McIlroy as he butts his head on that tournament record of 22 under par set by Brandt Snedeker in 2015. I don't have the weather almanac in front of me, but I wonder if it blew like it did on Saturday back in 2015. Spectacular stuff for McIlroy and a 27th career victory. Post round is presented by the new QI35 drivers from TaylorMade. Patrick McDonald, our CBS Sports golf writer, here with instant reaction. Patrick, I hesitate to ever say this about the game of golf, but that looked easy. Rory's bogey avoidance this last 36 holes was something to marvel. What did you make in the means in which he dismantled Pebble on this day?
Well, you got to start with the driver, Joe. Number 14 in particular. Not only did the driver show off, but absolutely those drone tracers as well. Just bullying that par 5 into submission over the weekend, capping off the tournament really there and slamming the door shut. But outside the driver, I would just go with the array of golf shots that he showed us. So you think about Rory McIlroy, especially like early Rory McIlroy, which was 2008, 2009, which sounds crazy to say. It was full go. 100 miles per hour at every single shot this day and age. He's tried to fashion, kind of that sawed-off wedge approach. And today it was just brilliant. This weekend and this week, to tell you the truth. And I think that's huge for someone like Rory, who everyone looks at that putter for major championships that has let him down. But I've really looked at that approach play in 2024. That was the worst approach play season since his rookie year on the PGA Tour. He locked himself in his swing studio for 3 weeks this past fall, and it's obviously paying some dividends, winning in Dubai and winning this week too. So that wedge play and that approach play in general really impressed me this week.
Patrick, I know you lock yourself in your swing studio often, so we don't have to get into that right now, but McIlroy was spectacular in any angle that you want to frame it. You make a great point there. We know the sixth gear exists, but the maturity of calling upon it at the right times, especially at a place like this in conditions like these. But I'm also always taken back by what it is required of Rory McIlroy to simply be Rory McIlroy, let alone win a golf tournament of this stature. The focus from him, it seemed unwavering this week. Is that something you've seen grow as well?
I have, Joe. It seems like he's past all the extracurriculars, right? This time in the fall last year, he was on the policy board. He was off the policy board. Someone asked him in the media in between rounds this week, like, hey, are you concerned about the PGA Tour? And he replied, Joe, I'm concerned about Rory. And I absolutely love that. This guy has been dealing with just about everything off the golf course. 2024 was a big year for him off the golf course, too. A lot of extracurriculars he had to handle. And for him just to focus on golf, focus on Rory McIlroy, play golf courses that Rory McIlroy wants to play. Someone asked him earlier, it's like, why do you play so much in Europe? He's like, I like to play in Europe. I can do whatever I want. I can play wherever I want. I'm very lucky at this stage in my career. And when you have Rory McIlroy confident and a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, you get performances like you saw this week.
We certainly did. A 27th victory here on the PGA Tour, his 51st worldwide, and appears to be in a groove that we've seen before in spurts. Obviously, young Rory McIlroy, the major champion, had his moments, but this seems like a raised floor for McIlroy. Excited to project him here across the majors when we do get that opportunity, but a win at Pebble is always a win at Pebble. He alluded to it post-round. You know, sometimes people knock the places that he's won, where he has amassed that resume. What does Pebble mean to Rory McIlroy?
Well, you look at all the champions at Pebble Beach, right, Joe? They were listing them off on the broadcast, the recent ones like Jordan Spieth and Dustin Johnson. But you go back to Tiger Woods and what he has done around this golf course. Tom Watson, a U.S. Open winner as well. And so Rory McIlroy, he alluded to it earlier. Venues really matter on the PGA Tour, and Rory's taken a liking to all the national opens on the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour, making it a point to play at the Canadian Open, making it a point to play at the Irish Open. And although it's not a national open, a course like Pebble Beach is just so iconic that you could almost put it up there with those types of tournaments. So it seems to me that he's just compiling such an all-time resume, especially this day and age in golf where there's a new kid every which way every year, and he is steady as he comes. Outside that 2017 season where he had a rib and back injury, Joe, he's won every year as a professional. That is absolutely ludicrous. So not only should we celebrate the resume that he's put together, but the longevity of it, because I know in golf we kind of lose sight of that sometimes.
And seemingly only getting better, more polished, and longer with that driver. And this is a place that we were told it is the ball striker's paradise. Maybe we do reduce the importance of what it means off the tee, but he picked those spots once again and used that driver as his greatest weapon. I want to go one deeper here on Pebble, because I know you're in Twitter circles. I know you're ear to the ground always, and Pebble Beach is a fantastic place. Everybody longs to be there, longs to play there, longs to go there. But sometimes they talk about that inward nine out of the sides of their mouths a little bit. What did you make of the test that Pebble presented with some of that weather we got as well?
It's tough this day and age, and I'm glad you brought up the weather. It seems when the weather blows, any golf course can kind of stand up to these players, but still, you had Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry get around a very difficult Pebble Beach on Saturday in 7 under. Rory McIlroy went around this weekend in 13 under, bullying 14 like we talked about, which is kind of a shame, right? That was a great par 5 once upon a time, but you have Tom Kim hitting an iron into that hole. Tom Kim's not one of the longest players on the PGA Tour like Rory McIlroy. So it's definitely a conversation maybe for a different day with where the equipment is. And I know the broadcast has alluded to it, but it does take away some of the charm and perhaps some of the difficulty and the artistry that used to be required at Pebble Beach. But with the way Rory McIlroy played, I don't care what club you put in his hand, he still would have raced that field.
Well, if we are measuring by minutes and seconds, Kim is in fact one of the longest players on tour. That was some stuff here on Sunday, Patrick McDonald. Obviously, when Rory wins, even when Rory's just in a field on the first page of a leaderboard, takes up a lot of the oxygen in the room. But there were fantastic performances across this field this week. Who's the second name out of your mouth this week?
Honestly, it's Sepp Straka. He really impressed me over the weekend. He did not have his best stuff by a long shot. You heard he was dealing with flu-like symptoms. And the back nine on Saturday, I was really impressed by Straka. This is a guy who it felt like the tournament was getting away from him, made 3 straight bogeys. Then he bounced back, grabbed that 54-hole lead, was trying to become the first player ever to win the Bob Hope and the Crosby Clambake back-to-back. And today he just struggled with his swing. The sequencing was off. The timing was off. Had the quick lefts kind of going. But even though he won the American Express, Musso, he didn't get Ryder Cup points because it was across from a DP World Tour Rolex Series event. And so this was a big week kind of just to push himself up the rankings. And we talk about guys like Morikawa and Cantlay and JT and Spieth as guys, as stars of the game. But someone like Straka, he almost won his 4th time since the start of 2021 this week in a big-time field. And so I think we just need to reassess a little bit about who those stars might be, because Straka, if he continues to play like this, he could be on his way up.
Yeah, a different depth in field this week than in La Quinta, and he proved himself once again to find himself at the top of that leaderboard. Patrick McDonald, we thank you for your insight as always. Let's take a listen to Rory McIlroy after the victory.
You've won on some iconic golf courses around the world. As a golf history buff, what's the significance of now adding Pebble Beach to your resume?
Yeah, you know, some people would argue that the golf courses I have won on are not up to like a Pebble Beach or obviously an Augusta or whatever, but yeah, to win at one of the cathedrals of golf is really, really cool. You know, I knew today was going to be tough. It was going to be exciting. There were so many guys around the lead. And I guess I had to, you know, with it being Pebble Beach, I had to put that to the back of my mind and just go out there and try to shoot a score, which I was able to. But yeah, really cool to have that walk up 18, sort of take it all in, was very cool.
Before we talk about the 18th and that walk, take us back to the par 5 14th. You blew everyone away with the way that you played it, including Tony Finau, who was watching with us live.
Yeah, so I mean, look, I've hit 3 really good tee shots up 14. The previous 2 times this week, I didn't take advantage of them, and I was determined to take advantage of it today. I had a perfect 7-iron after that drive, and to hole a putt like that across that green, it's a bit of a bonus, but you know, that really gave me a cushion to play the last 4 holes, and yeah, you know, it was, you know, I was really proud of myself. I made that bogey on the 8th hole, and then to play, you know, the next few the way I did, you know, that gave me the cushion to, you know, for it to be pretty comfortable coming down the last few.
Yeah, talk me through those last 4 holes. It seemed obvious that you had this tournament in hand, but obviously you can't let yourself go there. What's happening in your mind and your body to stay within the moment, but also realize the considerable lead you had put yourself in?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, there's still a few scenarios that are playing through your head. I even thought, you know, if Shane had a birdied 17 and made that putt, you know, a 3-shot lead on 18 compared to a 2-shot lead is a little bit different. So, sort of relieved to see him not hold that. I was, look, I would have hit driver if I needed to up the last, but you know, with the 3-shot cushion, you know, just, you know, playing it as a 3-shotter and getting the job done is ultimately what I needed to do. But yeah, you know, it was nice to walk up here. It was also good to see him make 4 to finish second on his own, so that'll make our flight home a little bit better for both of us. But yeah, no, just a really cool day, you know, to win in California, a place that I haven't historically played that well before. You know, it's really cool, and it's obviously a really cool way to start the season.
That's what our final question is here. What does this mean for you now moving forward? You said it was important for you to get off to a hot start. How do you recalibrate now moving forward?
Yeah, I said to Harry walking up the last, start as you mean to go on. I'm just as determined this year as I have been in any of the years I've been out here on the PGA Tour, and to get this win this early, it means a great deal, and hopefully just keep the momentum going into Torrey Pines in a couple of weeks' time.
Setting the tone for 2025. Congratulations, win number 27, Rory McIlroy. It's an impressive number, Jim.
That certainly is.
8 consecutive seasons with a win for McIlroy, as you heard, now 27 to his name. McIlroy also becoming just the 3rd golfer in the last 30 years to win 27 times on tour with 4 or more majors. The other names, Woods, Mickelson, end of list. And for more, we say hello to CBS Sports golf analyst Rick Gehman. Rick, this was billed as the ball striker's paradise, as Pebble always is. Maybe ball strikers over bombers. Pebble taking the driver out of the hand plenty throughout this week, but what does the final stat profile tell us about how Rory maybe broke down Pebble Beach?
Yeah, I think he did it a little bit differently, Joe, than he has tried to attack Pebble Beach in the past. His record coming into this week at these hallowed grounds wasn't very good, but we saw him take some lines off the tee, especially early in the week, that really nobody else could take on. Over the first 3 rounds, and of course one of those coming at Spyglass Hill, he was just leaps and bounds ahead of the field with the driver. But what I was most impressed with is what he did in the final round, and that was really dialing in his wedge play. That is what gave him so many opportunities. It allowed him to not make any big mistakes, especially early in the round as his peers and group mates were putting squares on the card. He was just hitting a bunch of solid wedges into a lot of these small greens. We saw everything from the high soft ones, Joe, to the sawed off low ones. He had the whole thing working with wedge in hand and made it a pretty easy walk up the coastline to win this title.
Yeah, stress-free if it can be that here out on tour. Rory McIlroy making easy work of Pebble Beach as we take a look at that scorecard. It was the moment at 14, ignited by that drive on an audacious line, and then makes the putt across that vast green, which is not something you often say here at Pebble Beach. Rick, this performance feels connected in some ways to the form that we saw a year ago, the way he ended last season. Rather than revving the engine, he's doing what it takes when he needs to at most. Where are you most bullish about McIlroy's project him, not just into these next few weeks, but across our 4 major venues this year?
Yeah, Rory has a little bit a better changeup now. It's not just fastball. He's got a lot of different ways that he can get it done. And you're starting to see that as he finds success at a lot of different golf courses on the PGA Tour schedule. But he's always going to excel at major championships. He's always going to excel when the courses get long and more difficult. That's how the best players separate themselves. And Joe, I don't need to look much farther than Quail Hollow, a place that he has absolutely dominated in his career across many Wells Fargo championships. It gets the nod for the PGA Championship this year. I know we might be in year 8, 9, 10. I don't know how long this major championship drought currently is for Rory McIlroy. I know it's much too long, and he's got a couple of venues this year that are really good for him. But I look right at Quail and say, that's the one. If he doesn't contend, if he's not in the mix on Sunday, it's going to be a massive disappointment.
Yeah, with the number of wins he has at that place. I mean, once you get past a decade, you just start saying a long, long time, and it's been far too long for a man with this talent that we saw this week at Pebble Beach. Next week, we will see a different place and a different pace of tournament with the WM Phoenix Open coming our way. It's always a sight to behold there as well for a myriad of different reasons. I've never seen someone take more selfies than Rick Gehman at the WM. It was that was a sight to behold as well. Our recent victories, we look at a stat profile of Nick Taylor, Scotty Scheffler ×2, Brooks before that. When you look at next week, what excites you about the test?
I mean, everything. Change of pace is perfect, right? We're going from this very scenic, calm, serene place that is Pebble Beach, even with weather, to just absolute chaos. For 4 straight days. That's right, around TPC Scottsdale. And I think there's a couple things that excite me. One, Scotty Scheffler is now going to be in his second start back from that hand surgery, and he finishes top 10 this week while leading the field in approach play. Now goes to TPC Scottsdale, where he's been awesome. But Joe, it's not just this hole right here. It's not just the arena coming down the stretch. The entire second 9 from basically 12 on, you can see fireworks, and we will see fireworks. There are guys that are going to play the last 7 holes at 5 or 6 under. The course of the championship is going to change drastically on that second 9 on Sunday. It happens every single year. There's just so many different opportunities out there with the way the course lays itself out, and with everybody going nuts and throw in Super Bowl Sunday. I mean, it's just the perfect day. I'm so excited for it. I can't wait to get there.
We'll see if Scotty can get his 3rd in the desert. Also, notably a TaylorMade staffer as well. And always remember that you can unlock another level off the tee and experience more distance from more of that face with the new QI35 drivers from TaylorMade. Scan the QR code to learn more. We are back with our FedEx Cup update presented by FedEx, where now meets next, as we will take a look at those updated leaderboards in just a bit here. Rick Gehman, this is Rory McIlroy's season debut, 99 points that come with it. So much golf to be played, but when you look at those who made it to East Lake a year ago, how much of a through line is an early season victory to build in that cushion?
Yeah, I think it's huge now, Joe, especially since we are back to the calendar year schedule that removes, those fall events where some guys get off to a really good start and just kind of coast their way to East Lake. You can't do that anymore. And you've got to start putting together a lot of really good events and a lot of really good finishes, because these fields are only getting deeper. We haven't started major championships yet. We're only a couple of signature events into this thing. I know it is barely February, but we are closer to East Lake that everybody always realizes. So yeah, getting it done early, posting some really big points it goes a long way when you try to get there at the end of the year.
Yeah, you get that first one to go in and you roll right along. Rory McIlroy positioned nicely following his win here at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Rick Gehman, always my pleasure. You want more Rick Gehman? Of course you do. The First Cut podcast rolling on as you download, you subscribe, you enjoy Under the Ropes, Into the Action each and every week on tour as our team brings you the latest